This was no accident. China deliberately intercepted the U.S. helicopter in a highly sensitive area, making it clear that every move was calculated. The Taiwan Strait is a flashpoint, and such encounters are never routine. Each side is acutely aware that even the smallest miscalculation could escalate into a much larger conflict. Chinese pilot Kong Xianghui, featured on state TV, framed the event as defending national sovereignty. He spoke with pride about his mission, emphasizing the importance of protecting China's territorial integrity and sending a strong message to foreign forces operating nearby. Footage showed the helicopters flying dangerously close for over an hour, with radio warnings ignored and accusations of aggressive maneuvers exchanged. The pilots, locked in a high-stakes standoff, relied on their training and nerves of steel to avoid disaster, all while under intense scrutiny from their commanders. The incident's broadcast, timed with the PLA's anniversary, was a clear message. China is ready to defend its borders and warn the U.S. about operating near its coast. By showcasing the encounter on state media, China aimed to rally domestic support and demonstrate its resolve to the world. For the pilots, the margin for error was razor thin. A single misstep could have triggered a major crisis. Every decision in the cockpit carried enormous weight, as both sides tried to avoid a catastrophic incident while still projecting strength. These aerial confrontations are not just about military hardware or tactics. They are about signaling intentions, testing boundaries, and sending unmistakable messages to rivals and allies alike. These encounters are more than military maneuvers. They're high-stakes political signals. Each incident is closely analyzed by military strategists and political leaders, who weigh the risks and potential consequences. Each side tries to assert dominance without sparking open conflict, a dangerous dance with global consequences. In these moments, the world watches, hoping that cooler heads will prevail, and that the skies above the Taiwan Strait will remain just tense, not tragic. The Taiwan Strait is one of the world's most contested maritime passages, separating China from Taiwan and serving as a vital artery for global trade. The U.S. and its allies see it as international waters, while China claims it as its own. Any disruption here would ripple through the global economy. U.S. warships and aircraft regularly transit the strait to assert freedom of navigation, directly challenging China's claims. China views these operations as violations of its sovereignty and responds with its own military assets, creating a constant flashpoint. Armed forces from both sides operate in close quarters, raising the risk of incidents like the recent helicopter standoff. In this crowded, tense environment, the stakes for regional and global security are higher than ever. The roots of today's tensions trace back to 1949, a pivotal year that forever altered the fate of China and Taiwan. That year, China's brutal civil war ended with the Communist Party seizing control of the mainland, while the defeated nationalist government retreated to the island of Taiwan, taking with them millions of refugees and the hope of one day reclaiming the mainland. Both sides have since claimed to be the sole legitimate government of all China, each establishing their own capitals, constitutions, and national symbols. Over the decades, Beijing's One China principle has come to dominate international policy, pressuring countries and organizations to recognize only the People's Republic of China. The United States acknowledges this principle, but carefully avoids taking a stance on Taiwan's sovereignty, walking a diplomatic tightrope. Through the Taiwan Relations Act, the U.S. commits to supporting Taiwan's self-defense, providing arms and maintaining unofficial relations, even as it recognizes Beijing diplomatically. This ongoing support acts as a deterrent against Chinese military aggression, signaling that any attempt to change the status quo by force would have serious consequences. Yet, Beijing views these actions as blatant foreign interference in its internal affairs, fueling nationalist sentiment and hardening its resolve. The Taiwan Strait has witnessed multiple crises: artillery duels in the 1950s, tense standoffs, and near misses that brought the world to the brink of conflict. In the 1990s, Chinese missile tests and military exercises near Taiwan sent shockwaves through the region, raising fears of war and prompting international concern. Each time, the United States has been drawn in, deploying naval forces to signal its commitment to regional stability and deter escalation. For China, controlling the strait is not just about territory, it's about national rejuvenation, restoring lost pride, and projecting power on the world stage. For the U.S. and its allies, it's about upholding international law, supporting democracy, and reassuring partners across Asia that America's commitments are credible. These conflicting imperatives, national pride, security, and global influence, keep the Taiwan Strait a persistent global flashpoint, watched anxiously by the world. The legacy of mistrust, military posturing, and unresolved grievances endures, shaping every move and countermove in the region. Every new incident in the Taiwan Strait is shaped by this long, contentious history, a history that continues to cast a long shadow over East Asia's future. The helicopter standoff is part of a broader trend. Close military encounters between China, the U.S., and their allies are becoming more frequent and risky. Chinese jets and helicopters have repeatedly challenged foreign aircraft and ships, sometimes coming within meters. These actions are deliberate. Beijing aims to assert its territorial claims and push back against U.S. dominance. By normalizing its presence and using gray zone tactics, coercion short of war, China tests the resolve of its rivals. The U.S. responds by strengthening alliances and deploying advanced capabilities, hoping to deter aggression without provoking conflict. But each close call increases the risk of a catastrophic miscalculation. The region is caught in a cycle of provocation and response. The Indo-Pacific is a global crossroads, and the U.S. sees itself as the guarantor of open sea lanes like the Taiwan Strait. China's expansive claims are viewed as attempts to rewrite the rules and intimidate neighbors. When Chinese forces intercept U.S. assets, it's a direct challenge to the established order. The U.S. demonstrates its commitment by maintaining a visible presence, signaling support for allies and upholding international law. For America, backing down would undermine its credibility and embolden China. For China, these confrontations are about national pride and its ambition to dominate Asia. The stakes are enormous. Global trade, regional security, and the balance of power all hang in the balance. Every encounter is a test of resolve for both nations. From Beijing's perspective, actions in the Taiwan Strait are defensive, not provocative. Reunification with Taiwan is a core goal, and U.S. military activity is seen as interference in China's internal affairs. China views U.S. operations as deliberate provocations meant to contain its rise and encourage separatism. The intercept was, in China's eyes, a legitimate response to intrusion. Surrounded by U.S. alliances, China feels encircled and justifies a more assertive military posture. The release of the helicopter footage was a show of strength for both domestic and international audiences. Portraying pilots as heroes bolsters national pride and support for military modernization. Each incident reinforces the narrative that a strong military is essential for China's dignity and security. The Indo-Pacific is becoming a flashpoint, as U.S. and Chinese forces encounter each other with increasing frequency and intensity. Each close call, whether at sea or in the air, adds another layer of tension to an already volatile region. These encounters are not just routine patrols, they are high-stakes moments where a single mistake could have far-reaching consequences. The greatest risk is not always a deliberate act, but an accident, a collision, a misjudgment, or a technical failure that could rapidly escalate into a full-blown crisis. History has shown that even minor incidents can spiral out of control when tensions are high. In such a charged atmosphere, nationalist sentiment on both sides would make backing down politically costly. Leaders would face immense pressure from their own people to respond with strength, not restraint, making de-escalation far more difficult. If communication breaks down, diplomatic efforts could stall or collapse entirely. In the absence of dialogue, both sides might resort to military buildups, increasing the risk that a standoff could turn into open conflict. Even without a direct clash, the constant state of near conflict forces regional countries to take sides, straining alliances and making cooperation on other issues more difficult. The sense of crisis becomes the new normal. This ongoing arms race and deepening mistrust undermine efforts to work together on global challenges like climate change, trade, and public health. To avoid catastrophe, both sides must establish clear rules of engagement and maintain open, reliable lines of communication, even in moments of crisis. While technical solutions and protocols can help reduce risks, lasting peace depends on political courage and a shared commitment to managing competition responsibly. Without these efforts, the dangerous dance of military brinkmanship in the skies and seas will only continue, keeping the world on edge. As the world watches, the hope remains that leaders will choose dialogue over disaster and cooperation over conflict.